Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Safiyyah, your host. The news of the killing of Anas Al-Sharif has shaken us to the core. Anas was a journalist. He's also my husband's nephew. In this episode, we reflect on his life and legacy. With me is Dr. Shabir Ally. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
Dr. Shabir, Anas is related to us, of course, and he made pleas, many pleas in the months before he passed away, or he was killed, actually, saying that there was a target on his back, that Israel wanted to kill him, they were threatening to kill him, and yet the world turned away and allowed it to happen. What are your thoughts on what occurred, Dr. Shabir?
Well, this obviously is decried universally because everyone recognizes the rights of journalists to safety so that they can report on what's going on in the world. Anas Al-Sharif in particular had the opportunity to leave Gaza, but in which case he would have been safe, but he preferred to remain in Gaza with a mission in mind. He wanted to be there to factually report on what's happening on the ground, reports that we cannot expect to come from the occupying forces. And he was doing a very good job at that. And this obviously made him a threat, not because he is, linked with any delisted organization, but because simply he is a journalist who goes the extra mile to give us reports on what's happening on the ground so that we can see firsthand the devastation that is being caused by the bombing, the displacement of people, the malnutrition, the starvation, and the atrocities in genocide and genocide in general. So this was the threat that needed to be eliminated. It is the truth coming out of Gaza.
And as a result, Dr. Shabir, Anas became a hero to so many people, not just his family, but to all of Gaza, in fact. My husband's family is very distraught over his death, just because they saw him as the voice of Gaza. And it's now like, okay, who's going to speak on behalf of Gaza? Who's going to tell the world what's going on? There is no clear substitute at the moment, especially because so many other journalists have been killed before Anas. So Anas is not the first, and definitely he will not be the last. So there's a lot of concern from people in Gaza itself about what is going to happen now.
Yeah, and of course, along with Anas, 5 others journalists were killed. And while there is now a campaign to besmear the name of Anas Al-Sharif, what are we to say about the other 5? Obviously, there's a lot of accountability that must come to the fore. The perpetrators must be held accountable for killing so many journalists all at once. And even if you are trying to, and even if you succeed in besmearing the name of one of them, what about the others? Obviously, killing so many journalists all at once speaks to a different narrative. It really tells the world that we do not want the journalists to be there. We don't want them to report from the ground. We don't want the truth to come out about the atrocities that we're committing there.
And international law is clear on this. There's so many. There's the Geneva Convention. There's so many other things which indicate that journalists are considered civilians. Right? They're not in any situation like this. They are not to be harmed, right? They're supposed to be allowed to go about their jobs as usual and to share the truth. And it's interesting, well, not interesting, but hypocritical that all of these media outlets have not said a word about what's going on with Anas throughout the whole process where he was telling them that he's being threatened. Nobody said anything. Only now they're starting to report on his death and they're linking him to Hamas. So it's a very unfortunate state of affairs. It's interesting because when we spoke to his family after his death, they were asking, what is the world saying about Anas? They wanted to understand how the world is thinking about Anas. And you don't know what to say, right?
Yeah.
Because yes, Anas is a hero amongst ordinary people, but within the establishment, he's still viewed with suspicion, and people are still adopting the Israeli narrative on who he is.
Well, and not all of the news sources are adopting that narrative. Even if one were to read some news articles coming out of Israeli sources, like if we go with Times of Israel, for example. And I haven't even looked at Haaretz, and you can expect that Haaretz will be even more skeptical about that narrative. But they give some. They question the narrative that is coming out from that occupying force. They're asking, what about the other 5 journalists who were killed as well? Even if you try to besmear the name of the one. So what is more important also is for us to see that the general trend, as you already mentioned, threats were made against him previously, and don't forget his father was killed, and this was an elderly man killed in his home in northern Gaza when he stayed there and people were being told to evacuate. So for what crime is he just killed when he's there in his home being bombed to ruins? And then think about the wider strategy here that is being employed. Everyone agrees that it is against international law to displace people. It is against international law to use starvation as a tool of war, and so on. All of these atrocities are being committed. Now there is a plan to relocate people from Gaza to South Sudan. Well, if you want to relocate people and you want to have peace, why not relocate the illegal settlers in the West Bank to somewhere and comply with international law? Look, Saudi Arabia and France called together a meeting of 19 countries to a meeting in New York, and they published a declaration giving stipulations, which obviously, calls for compromises on both sides, but also the adherence, and this is more important, the adherence to international law. And this is where one side of the bargain is definitely not coming to the fore. If they wanted peace, they could say, this here, 19 countries, including big players like Canada, the United Kingdom, very important forces in the world. They're calling for peace. They're calling for some kind of compromise to get justice done in the world and safety for everyone, including Israelis. So if they really wanted that, well, there it is. Backed by 19 countries. What more do you want? But no, there is the plowing ahead. Now, soon after that, there is an announcement that we're going to take over Gaza City, which means all of Gaza, after 75% have already been occupied. Now, the remaining 25%. So there is a juggernaut moving ahead, nonstop, disregarding all of the pleas of sanity from the world, and including pleas from within the occupying forces' own cabinet and from military personnel who can see that this is not a good plan. It's not going to result in peace and justice and fairness for everyone, and it's not going to result in safety for the hostages. What about the hostages? If you go in all guns blazing, you're going to kill off your own hostages. So what was the point about bringing them home safely? If that occupying force wanted peace from the inception, what they had to do was to get back to the negotiation table, negotiate for peace, get your hostages back, and then call the international community to look into the threats that they face to ensure the safety of Israel on the whole, and people like those who were taken hostages in the first place. But to go in there fighting and thinking that this is going to bring about peace, it doesn't.
Well, they don't want a ceasefire. They want to continue until they accomplish their goals, Dr. Shabir.
Yes, which are wider than obviously the stated objectives.
Yes.
And this is why, they cannot come to the negotiation table and bring everything out, lay out all of the cards, because there are cards up the sleeves.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Shabir, I feel like we all have to be like Anas Al-Sharif and the other journalists. We need to be braver. Whatever risks we face, we still need to speak out and do what we can to bring light on what's happening in Gaza and hopefully bring an end to it.
Which, of course, leads me to sum up Anas Al-Sharif's legacy or wasiyah, his last will and testament. What he said to the world was, in a nutshell, do not forget Gaza.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiyyah and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.